Hey Tim, have you had a nice relaxing day today?
Yes, like the last 3 days. It's been wonderful.
I can only imagine.
I was having a look at my to-do list about the plans that I'd made for me for this week, and that just got tossed away, and other people took control of my agenda.
Yeah, how rude is that?
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of important things. Obviously, the commercial code is out,
Yep.
and is always the way. We've got more questions than answers as a
Yeah.
result of that. Tell me what you know for sure that people have to be aware of.
Yeah, great question. So I dug through it in detail, and I've teased out what I think to be 33 key messages that have come out of it. So I've broken that up. And I'm going to be, along with your good self, having a dedicated webinar on Wednesday of next week. We're just waiting to get a few more details. And we're also putting together a pack of information that people who watch the webinar can take away from it. But we hope at that stage to be able to impart some of the knowledge that we've managed to gain by looking at it. But what we should also say is this is a base document, so the code is a base document, and we're still waiting on the New South Wales government to put the detail that will sit on top of that. But you know, one of the key points, Leanne, that I think is like this qualifying requirement before you actually get in to being considered is the job keeper. So your business has to be eligible for the job keeper subsidy. So that was at least there's some mechanics in it, so that we actually know what you have to do.
Yeah, so I guess the tip is if you haven't already applied for that JobKeeper program, do that in the first instance. And we know that no real estate businesses are going to qualify for that on the current quarter, but what we have been told is that they can forecast for the June quarter where that downturn is likely to kick in. And the other thing to be aware of is that it's not fair trading. I'm sure all of the commercial guys know this, but it's not fair trading that we need to work with on this. It's the Office of the Small Business Commissioner who are the people we need to talk about the code, and they can't quite understand the urgency from our perspective. They think we want everything in a bit of a hurry, but anyway, so we're doing what we can. We're hoping to have somebody from their office available for our webinar on Wednesday afternoon, but we will come back with details as soon as we can formalise them, right?
Yeah.
Now, from a residential perspective, we did speak to some government representatives last night, and do you want to share with what we are able to share from that conversation?
Yeah, so it was a little bit limited about what we could share on that, but I think the most important thing we got out of it is that we will be getting an announcement over the next couple of days. So we will get some detail there. And I noticed that our friends in South Australia and Queensland, their governments have made an announcement this afternoon, putting that out. So I haven't had the opportunity to go through that, but yeah, which is good. So we're starting to see things coming through. One of the important things that came out of yesterday's discussion, though, and I was very pleased to hear that they made this point quite solidly, that the moratorium isn't an invitation for tenants not to pay rent. And I thought that was the big one that came out of it.
Because it's not a moratorium on rent, it's only a moratorium on evictions. I know that kind of makes tenants think, oh, well, what are they going to do if I don't pay rent? I mean, basically that rental obligation remains.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And the things that we don't know yet is, and again, if it follows the Tasmanian model, that if you are unable to pay your rent now, or a portion of it, that will get added on until the end of this period, at the end of where we're sitting now. So I think that is being referred to as the end of June, and then going forward there, you would be expected to pick that rent up. So anyone who is thinking, I just won't pay my rent, and there seems to be about 17,000 people who have signed that petition, who have ambitions of not paying rent at all. Well, that's certainly not the clever move on their part.
No, not at all. I did have the opportunity to very quickly look at the Queensland information that came through, and as with all of this, it did raise more questions than answers, and the devil is definitely going to be in the detail. So there's a lot of ifs, buts and maybes in there. So I'll be really fascinated to see the analysis of that, which is bound to come out over the next day or so.
Well, if you're staying home this weekend, you'll be able to have a look at it.
I am so not going to look at it. I need a break. I'm just really hoping that I'm able to at least get tomorrow off, right? So as we say, we are expecting an announcement over the weekend from either our Premier or our Treasurer. So that is something to stay tuned for. And yes, we will have to be working as soon as that happens, right? You and me, Tim?
Yes, we will. Yeah.
I also just wanted to make mention that there's been a lot of conversations from a commercial perspective around land tax and the impost that is going to have on landlords who are already looking like they're shouldering a fair degree of the pain in this from a commercial perspective. So we are having those conversations with the people we need to have them with, but at the moment we don't have anything to update in that space. Right?
No, that's right. I mean, there is this swirling conversation that's going on about land tax, where they're saying they'll defer it, which doesn't sort of
doesn't
make
help,
me all
really.
that happy. And then there has been partial deferment and partial waiver, so that starts to look a little more attractive.
Better. Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get a bit more clarity around that as well. But interestingly, in the commercial space with that, though, that if the landlord is given a waiver of the land tax, then according to the code, that is to be passed on to the tenant in proportion. So,
right.
I'm not quite sure the mechanics of how that works. Despite them having a worked example in the code, I'm just when it comes to land tax, I'm just not completely sure how that works.
Oh well, time will tell. There's lots more detail that we need to go through with absolutely everything that's on our plate at the moment. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with us before we go?
No, as I said to you rather flippantly when we first started out, that a lot of our agenda had been jettisoned because other people took over. But we are next week, if the timing is right, we're going to be going on the front foot in relation to sales, and we're going to be putting an argument to government that they should be trying to incentivise people to transact property. It's good for everybody, even around the periphery of the transaction. So government can sit there and say, I want 100% of the stamp duty and get 100% of nothing, or they can reduce the stamp duty and try and give people some incentives to come into the market and trade property. Good for them, good for the parties, good for the agents, and good for the periphery that rely on it as well. And I'm hoping that they see reason on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes perfect sense. And although we were intending on going out with that this week, it's really important that we do it at the right time, because otherwise it just gets lost in the noise. And so the noise has been around rent relief, both for commercial and residential. So that's why we're saving this until next week, although it won't be any surprise to anybody that we're going out hard across the country. The institutes across the country are working together in this space. But I have to say to you, Tim, I've been speaking to a lot of agents in the last couple of days, and they're planning for what's going on, what's going to happen after we're through this. And there are also people doing quite a few market appraisals, getting stock coming on. So it is actually, I don't know, it feels like people are starting to settle into the new normal, it's interesting how resilient and adaptable we can actually be when we're forced.
Yeah, and that was a point I think we made yesterday or the day before. We can't control that environment that's been imposed on us, but we can control how we respond to it. And I think the good people out there aren't going to complain and whinge and spend their energy doing that. They're going to say, right, well, I'm going to adapt. I'm going to be relevant in this environment, and I'm going to lead the narrative going forward within the industry. And I think they're the people who will come out of this well. And as we know, when it gets tough, it really does separate the good from the bad.
There is no doubt about that. So, all right, on that note, I will wish everybody a wonderful Easter. I hope you get a chance to have a break, and please make sure you do switch off social media and the news for a day or two at least, because we all need a break, right?
Yes, we do.
All right. Take
All
care,
right.
Tim. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Leanne. Bye.
Bye.